This is not the greatest match ever, no. Ho, that is just a tribute. They couldn't remember the greatest match ever, no. Oh, that is just a tribute. Edge is Kyle Gass, Randy Orton is Jack Black, and this week's episode of WWE Raw was completely and utterly meh. But for good reason. You see, in a similar vein of Becky Lynch going to give birth to a beautiful baby child later this year, this week's episode of Raw took the form of a freshly squeezed child out of a womb. You see, that's because a number of feuds started on this week's Raw. Things happened that kicked several programs off into the summer months. If WWE's feuds were a big bloody wall made of building blocks, this week's episode of Raw was the bottom block. You know, before you get to the upper blocks. It was an important block, so it was. And of course, it goes without saying, my thoughts and the thoughts of all of us here at Cultaholic are with the friends and family of Shad Gaspard at the minute. In the face of that horrible news yesterday, let's try and have a laugh as we look at all of the WTF moments from this week's WWE Raw. Hit the intro, please, man, up there. How you doing? WTF! And we start with Tom Phillips doing what Tom Phillips does best when he is face fornicating the poo out of a lion on commentary. When he claimed that last night's Raw, is a first in WWE as we kick off the brand to brand invitational. And pardon me, Mr. Thomas, if I've seen this one before, I think we all need t-shirts. Those of us who watched WWE a while back that says, I survived the wild card rule, just for Tom Phillips' benefit. We've seen this before, man, Tom. So as we saw, last week's Raw ended with Edge and Randy Orton asking the world through their facial expressions alone what the hell Charlie Caruso was smoking when Charlie Caruso said that now famous line. But this week's Raw started with the world asking who the hell is Charlie Caruso's dealer, because how the hell is she still getting the stuff that she is presumably smoking in the face of this global pandemic? Yes, Charles was back to kick off this week's Raw by claiming that if it did happen, which we now know it will happen, Edge versus Randy Orton could very well be considered the greatest wrestling match ever. And I'm not sure if the people who put the scripts together for WWE Raw maybe saw Charlie Caruso go off script last week and think to themselves, hey, that was really silly and really unnecessary what Charlie did on last week's show. Let's have a bit of a Ribbington. Let's double down on that thing and make it the entire crux of this Edge versus Randy Orton feud. Because I'm thinking, surely you've got Edge, who's been away for 9 years, as Randy Orton said on last week's Raw. He hasn't had a proper wrestling match since WrestleMania 27. That's a long bloody time ago. You've got Randy Orton and his methodical style. You've got the way the business has evolved. Are they really going to do the greatest wrestling match ever? I'm not too sure. Of course they might do, because Edge and Randy Orton, Edge in the best shape he's ever been, Randy Orton being Randy Orton, they might well do. But also, they might not. So why set yourselves up for such an ungodly fall? But who knows, with Backlash 2020 maybe, not maybe, but also maybe not fully taking place live, we might get Edge versus Randy Orton in their basic singles match as one of those cinematic lovelinesses that WWE have done in this self-isolation era. Who knows, there might be a green screen involved, there might be wires from the ceiling attached to the hips of Edge. Easy for me to say, so Edge can do several 630s and truly give us the greatest wrestling match ever. It is weird how they are doubling down on this thing. Why? What? I don't understand. Do you? I am 27 years of age. I'm not 45 years of age. I'm 27 years of age. So if you sat at home there are a similar age to me, I'm sure you will agree that seeing Randy Orton with a fully grey beard is a WTF moment of the highest regard from the toppest of all the top draws. Isn't he still like 24? Are we not still in the year 2004? Life's going too quickly, man, isn't it? And then we have Edge calling professional wrestling a sport. Now, if WWE using the word wrestling on their professional Wrestling show was not a big enough WTF moment for you. Edge using the word sport, a word of course which is firmly, allegedly, on Vince McMahon's list of dirty words never to be said ever. I guess that is a huge WTF moment then. Edge using that word on this week's Raw is even more far-fetched than AJ Styles getting out of that grave with no reason given whatsoever. I'm still waiting for that reason, WWE. I'm still waiting. But also, it's worth mentioning here, just my personal preference, anybody who calls professional wrestling a sport, get in the bin with you. It's not a sport. Now, am I the only one finding it very, very weird that on one hand, we're rejoicing in the fact that Becky Lynch is now pregnant? Congratulations again, by the way, Becky. But on the other hand, we're watching Seth Rollins, who is, of course, if you haven't been keeping up and keeping score at home, the boyfriend and or fiance, whatever the right word is here, of Becky Lynch. A message, of course, we were told several million times on WWE programming a little while ago. We're watching him speaking about falling into dark places after Money in the Bank 2020, a period of time where he knew fine well that his girlfriend, his fiancée, was pregnant. What about the good news, Seth? Does that dickhead not care about his unborn child? Of course, in the realms of kayfabe. Remember, all of these WTF moments are done within the realms of kayfabe. Pro wrestling can't mean more to Seth Rollins than his own unborn child, surely. I've learned on this week's Raw that Seth Rollins is an utter bastard. Becky Lynch, do what's best for you, pal. Get rid of that scrub, because you don't want no scrub. Oh no, you don't want no scrub. That's how the song goes, yeah. And then we learned that when big baldy bastard Baron Corbin arrived at this week's Raw, thank you, Brown to Brand Invitational, we're so lucky, aren't we? Yeah. He found fingerprints on his crown. What do you mean found fingerprints on his crown? You mean to tell me he does not wear that cape and crown in public? He doesn't take that cape and crown home with him? He leaves that cape and crown at work for other people, other peasants by the way, other dirty marks some might say, to fondle with them when he's gone? I thought big baldy bastard Baron Corbin was supposed to be a proper king. Kings wear their capes and crowns everywhere they go. Do not ask me how I know that, but I do. Tom Phillips. Lady Balls has got the scissors to castrate you, young man. And we learned that after on this week's Raw, Tom Phillips claimed that Charlotte Flair is the hardest working woman in any industry, and you do not bury Lady Balls like that, Tom Phillips, and come out of that situation to tell the tale. Tom Phillips, do you not remember when Lady Balls herself slapped the poo out of you on WWE TV a few years ago? Because I do. She's heard that on this week's Raw, Tom, and she is coming for you, son. You better run. All the rhymes. And so just in case you missed the full title for this Randy Orton versus Edge match, it's WWE Hall of Famer Edge versus the Viper Randy Orton. This match could end up being considered the greatest wrestling match ever. No pressure, lads. What are they doing? Dun, 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 dun. And I'm asking one simple question here, Kevin. Who the hell edited that Asuka, Nia, and Kairi segment together? Now, I'm sure there's a very fitting movie reference I could make here, but I don't know the films whatsoever, so I can't. We saw one shot cut too short. We saw Nia Jax saying, "Chill, bro," to Kairi saying that was cut too short. Then the shot that came after that started too early. None of it fit together. I don't know what to say here. It was just weird. It was slapdash. Do better, WWE. I am your teacher. I'm not. Just do better. Now, rumours have it that while Lana was watching that television there and losing her sugar, her honey, her ice, and her tea, what does that spell? Lana was actually watching reruns of Drag Race. Specifically, of course, you know which rerun I'm talking about, the week that Jan was told to sashay away. She did not deserve that. I still can't believe she went. But Lana going absolutely radio rental at the mere sight of MVP walking onto the Raw stage to simply clap Bobby Lashley after Bobby Lashley blarted right in the eye of our truth is the kind of content I'm here for. You're still gonna go home with Bobby, Lana. There's no need to worry about that. All MVP wants to do is manage Bobby Lashley's affairs while he's in and around the ring on a Monday night on WWE Raw. Unless, of course, Lana knows something we don't know, and there is indeed more to this Bobby Lashley and MVP thing than initially meets the eye. Oh wow. Hello, Ross here once again. I was just sorting the pictures out for this wonderful video and I was watching back a portion of that women's tag team match and it turns out that Tom Phillips once again first fornicated the poo out of a line on commentary when he claimed that match was taking place on SmackDown, and it wasn't taking place on SmackDown, it was taking place on Raw. So Shayna Baszler's nickname is the Submission Magician. This much we know. Over the past few years in WWE, we've literally watched Shayna Baszler with our own eyes quite literally tap out just about everybody whose name is not Becky Lynch. Natalya turns up this week's Raw, sees Shayna Baszler and says, "How's Shayna? Submission match please." Yeah. And I'm just simply asking, what's the point in Natalya these days? Because I don't know. Last Monday, that should have changed. This Monday, did they go home this week? Last week, you know what I mean. Or is that just a designated argument spot within the WWE PC? And if that is the case, why is that a thing? Now, I don't care what you say, the axe throwing segments were absolutely fantastic, so they were. And I'm not being funny, right, but you've just watched Terry Ford step up to the plate. Is that the right word? I've got no idea. I've never done axe throwing in my life. He's missed the target by about 100 yards. Terry Ford is really good, really physically impressive. You then watch Angelo Dawkins step up to that same plate. Angelo Dawkins, of course, who was bigger, who was stronger, who was more bumblier. Is that the right word? He's not as athletically impressive as Montez Ford, although he could still teach me everything in the world. But you know what I'm saying. Yet you still, Mr. Viking man, still decide to stand there. I don't care if you've got all the armour in the world. I don't care if that armour is very, very strong indeed. You, my pal, are just being really silly. Yeah, and now it's time for this.
Wankety wank, wankety wank, wankety wank, wankety wank. Wankety wank, wankety wank, wankety wank.
Hello and welcome back to Wankety Wank, the section of WTF Moments where you as sexual wankers on tweet me with a WTF moment, then I give you all the credit just in case it's wrong. Thank you goes to Oxford University graduate Fat Neek 69420 for pointing out that medieval it might not be. Or something. So after we saw Austin Theory kicked to the proverbial curb by the Vega boys, the real superstar joined Jesus Christ superstar himself, Seth Rollins. Wow, what a turn of events, eh? And when you think about it, Becky let Asuka be a warrior so she could go and be a mother, and now we're watching Seth Rollins adopt another sweet little baby boy called Austin Theory to go alongside Austin Theory's new brother, Buddy Murphy. Seth Rollins, just like Becky, being all motherly. Ah. But hey, we've all been there, haven't we? We've all been there doing some axe throwing with our pals. One of our pals got a bit overzealous and threw an axe straight through a police car window. Who would have thunk it, eh? What a predicament. The police then got out of their car, walked over to our group of pals to find out who threw the axe through their car window. Then, in an effort to try and find out who threw the axe, they say, wow, there's only one way to find out who did this. Let's throw some axes. They've done that while smiling like Cheshire Cats. We've got an axe, we've thrown it at the target perfectly by using eyes in the back of our head. Then we've trash talked the horse and everyone went home happy. We've all been there, lads, haven't we? But then we actually found out how the lads got away with what they got away with there, and it's because that police woman, she fancied Ivar. Once again, we've all been there, lads. That's how it really works. So then we have WWE claiming that big baldy bastard Baron Corbin versus Drew McIntyre in their singles match to main event last night's Raw was a first time ever ting, and I don't quite know how to say this apart from the way I'm going to say it right now, but this was actually a first time ever ting. WWE claiming a first time ever ting actually being a first time ever ting.
The end is nigh, the end is nigh, time to run away, the end is nigh, nigh. Yep, I wrong, yep, I wrong.
And here we have quite a serious direct quote from one Byron Saxton when he claimed big baldy bastard Baron Corbin didn't know there was a secondary roof at Money in the Bank 2020, of course. He threw Ronald and Ali off there and didn't care about the consequences. I mean, Byron, that has to be wrong, or surely big baldy bastard Baron Corbin would have been arrested by now, would he not? And I don't know, but merely judging by the way things are going within the professional wrestling world right now, I reckon big baldy bastard Baron Corbin will sue Byron Saxton for defaming his character. That's some serious accusations Byron's throwing around their mind, isn't it? And with the sheer length of time it took for Daddy Drew McIntyre to defeat big baldy bastard Baron Corbin, we learned that Elias should really be WWE champion. Judging off last week's SmackDown, of course. And we've got a positive WTF moment to end things on. Out of the entire listed Raw Women's roster on Wikipedia right now today, only Becky Lynch did not appear on this week's show for good reason, of course, and that is mental. Wow. Haha. Yeah. So a positive WTF moment to end on. I have been Ross Twiddell from Cultaholic.com. Thank you for being a sexual wank pheasant. Edge and Randy Orton, I would not like to be you. All the best, lads. We'll see what happens in about 3 weeks' time. See ya!